Hello and welcome everyone. This is Adeel Ali from APImatic. Uh, company started up, basically came out of my PhD research while I was working on the choreography, orchestration, and composition of SOAP-based APIs and trying to generate code. So love your talk, Mike. Okay, so yeah. I live in New Zealand, and that's what I do over there. Startup life is not that hard. This is me doing a great walk of New Zealand. That's called Route 1 Track. Yeah, have you done that?
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, amazing, amazing. So I was there last month, and you can see, some great, great scenery over there. All taken from my cell phone. Yeah. All right, let's get back to the AI world. Complete the sentence. Actions speak louder than words, right? All that glitters is not gold. That's the easy one. Okay. Bite the dust. Push a bullet. What else? What else? Bite the hand that feeds. Or maybe that's yes, all. They're all correct. Even if I say bite the burger, AI won't know. So when there are multiple options and none of them are wrong, so what we see is a problem called, which is called determinism challenge. Because it's hard for the AI or for a human to determine which one to use unless we know the context, correct context to choose things from. But imagine if you're generating code and there are thousands of lines and there's one line which is incorrectly selected by the AI, how would you know? So determinism is a big problem, it's a big challenge when you're dealing with the AI. The last question, $1 million question. Why is the Golden Gate Bridge white?
It's not full.
That's not. See, he's an honest person. Everyone said that. See, Eric knows Golden Gate Bridge is not white. He said that. But if I ask the AI, sometimes it tries to be nice and don't disappoint me. Tries to give me an answer, justification. So what happened? I asked it, what makes the Grove Mall in Islamabad such a good place for shopping? It gave me a big answer. Variety of stores, entertainment options. But you know what? There is no Grove Mall in Islamabad. So this is a challenge which we call hallucinations challenge. And there's a big problem with the AI world because it can make up things, it can hallucinate. And the problem is this. At a Stanford study, they found that AI assistant wrote significantly less secure code. At another study, they found that 52% of the answers were incorrect when they fed the same question that they fed at Stack Overflow. And then lastly, you can see that last line, ChatGPT simply fabricated libraries that don't exist. And as a code generation company, when we were running experiments on AI, this is the biggest problem we found. Because if a library is not there and you're referencing it, well, how will it treat your code, right? So the problem is there. And if I ask you, how reliable is the AI generated code? And let me give you some options. A, 100%? No. B, use at your own risk. Good. And C, not at all. So I would call B a winner. And that's what the AI companies are saying, that review all the code for errors, bugs before even relying on it. So use at your own risk. It can make mistakes. So why does it even matter for APIs? We are here in the API conference. Why are we talking about the code generation in AI? The reason is API adoption, which is a top priority for API leaders, that they want the API to be adopted. And if I show you some logos and ask that, what do you think is common among these four logos, these four companies? Sorry?
You all expose APIs.
You all expose APIs? Okay, that's a good one. Anyone else? Sorry? Good developer experience. Business API first companies, yes. More specific. Unicorns, yeah. So they are all like the first API unicorns, which provide API first, API first companies. So if I say they have great developer experience, great docs, great SDKs, that's subjective. I can say, I have great docs in the world, but who am I to decide that? So the valuation, the $1 billion valuation, the unicorn status tells us how much they are, adopted by developers. So if you look at their docs, for example, you can see the language reference here, you see code samples, you see SDKs, you see all the platforms they support, and this is Stripe, again, all the language reference. So there's another study when they found some common factors among highly adopted APIs. They found two things. Number one, they speak the language of the developers, and number two, they provide pre-built code as SDKs. So code generation is very important for API adoption. That's you can just pick any API which is being adopted by developers. And how can we leverage the artificial intelligence with all its problems or limitations to make lives easier of a developer who's trying to consume your API, who's trying to adopt your API? So let's put on the shoes of a developer and see how do they adopt an API. So basically there are 3 API consumption steps. What are those? First one is learning the API concepts. So if I'm a developer coming to your API, the first thing I will do, I will try to learn the API concepts. And the source of it is API docs, sometimes PDF files, sometimes support ticket, I simply write an email, and sometimes there are forums. Second step is writing the API access code. So what is the access code? That's basically different from your business logic. And if you are a developer, before writing your actual business logic, you will be configuring the authentication, you will be serializing the input, you will be making the HTTP call, decoding the output. So all of these steps are common for all developers. They are regardless of your use case. And what happens, there are options to do it manually, and good APIs provide SDKs so that a lot of time of the developers is saved. Step number 3, which is writing the use case code. That's where your business logic comes. That's where you help your developers to write workflows for the API. And what are the help available? Okay, so some providers give code snippets, some give sample applications, some provide guided walkthroughs. Okay, so remember these 3 steps, and what I'm going to show you very quickly, I want to show these 3 steps traditionally done, and then repeat 3 steps using artificial intelligence and see what are the results. So here's a demo which I presented last week in San Francisco. So it's recorded, and the 3 steps I'm going to show. The first one here is learning about the API concepts. So you can go click on the concepts, how you're seeing access token, and how are you going to authorize this API, what are the authentication scopes. So you can just read it as a developer before you start coding. The second step was writing the API access code, and you can pick a language, download SDK, and all the access code authentication is done for you. Now the third bit, which is writing the use case code. So I have here 4 guided walkthroughs. I have picked 1, create a user's playlist. So if I ask who uses Spotify, great. So I'm going to show you how you can create a playlist, a user playlist, without writing any line of code. So what I'm doing here, the step 1 is to get current user's profile. So first I need to find what's my profile is at Spotify. So here's the code. I am going to authenticate this. So I have already added my auth credentials. So these are the auth scopes, and once it's done, I'm going to get a token. OAuth token, which is available for an hour. And then trying it out, you can see my name on top. So it has successfully fetched my user profile from Spotify API. The next step to create a new playlist. Okay, so again, it requires new scopes, and yeah, so just quickly add new scopes to it. Okay, so a new token. Yep. So now I'm just adding some text that this is playlist for API Meetup, and this album was created for the API Meetup. Yeah. So now it's going to there's a post method for the API Spotify API. If I hit try it out, it should create a playlist. It's seen success here 201, and I can see the API is being created. So now I finished a guided walkthrough. As a developer, I have not read a lot of things, and I was able to complete my use case without getting my hands dirty. Let me quickly verify if it has created a playlist or not. So this is my personal Spotify profile. Adeel Ali is my son's name. We do a podcast. So let me refresh it. So you can see playlist for the API Meetup. This album was created for the API Meetup in San Francisco. So you can see without writing any code, as a developer, I was able to go through all the steps with the help of a guided walkthrough. The problem, so there's no AI involved yet. The problem is there are only 4 walkthroughs available. As an API leader, I can only write finite number of use cases. What if I wanted to create a user playlist and add 10 songs from my favorite artist? What if I wanted to create a user playlist and copy from my friends' songs? So those are all unlimited use cases for which I cannot describe all of them. But here, the artificial intelligence can help. It can just describe your use case, and it can let you generate code on runtime for that use case. So again, let's quickly repeat the 3 steps. The step number 1 was learning the API concept, and here you can see I have a so the API concepts. Here you can see a red button over there, which we call API Copilot, and I have few prompts already here. So some prompts are about generation of code, some prompts are about letting me learn the API concepts. For example, if I ask which endpoints only works for users who have Spotify Premium, that's a non-code related question. I just wanted to know which endpoints work. So I can either raise a support ticket or just ask AI, and it told me all the endpoints. And now the second question I'm going to ask, how to create a new playlist again, but now add 10 most popular Taylor Swift songs. So what it's going to do is going to just go through the code. Yeah. So now it's generating the code. Again, complete sample application, creating a client, adding references to the SDKs. And this is a demo user. I can add my credentials to it. And it's also explaining all the steps which are done, which are required to create that use case code. So the SDK references at the back, which will take care of the API access code. So if I just quickly do one more. This time I am searching for a track titled Mockingbird by the artist Eminem, and would like to add it to the user's current playback queue. So now again, this is a different use case and new code to it. All the explanation is here. Okay. So yeah. So all I have to do is copy and paste this code to my IDE, and I have written the code for my use case without having to write any code. So that's the thing. Again, SDKs are at the back, which can take care of the API access code. So move forward from here. I have one more question. If you see, I use AI for steps 1 and 3 for learning the API concepts and writing a use case code. For the second step, right, API access code, I did not use AI. Why? Any guesses?
Because you're using it for the last step. You wrote those by hand and then you use them to generate better use case code.
These are basic steps. These are basic fundamental steps which are building blocks.
Yeah. Any more? Anyone?
Security.
So let me tell you the answer.
He's
So,
got the SDK for step 2.
yeah. So there is a reason why. So let me quickly explain that. You know, the step 1 it was about learning the API concepts. These concepts can be unique for different developers. Maybe I want to ask, I have a question about the cards or billing or payment, and some other user might have questions about the inventory. So these questions are dynamic, they're not static. So AI can dynamically help. Imagine if there is no AI, there will be a support person who will be just like, answering it, or there's a forum. So AI can really help in learning the API concepts. Second bit is API access code, and here we deal with the headers, status codes, HTTP methods, and you can see these are all common across all the use cases. If there is one developer using OAuth, there will be the same flow for the rest, thousands of developers. So there is no new things. Everything is static over here. The third bit is use case code, which is again dynamic. There's no static code over there, right? So what SDKs do, they just simply abstract out all the learning, all the API access code, and just makes them a direct request from application logic, coming to the API and getting a response as an API integration logic. To sum it up, the first step is dynamic, second is static, and third is dynamic again. And for the static parts, the traditional code generation, which is also done by a machine, is a better way to do it. AI, can be used for other places. The last question. Again, I mentioned the hallucinations problems, the big problems, the code generation. What about them now? How are you going to address that? And to be honest, this was my skepticism when my team showed me some of this, and I was saying, no, I have been from the age of rational rows, which generated non-functioning code. So I cannot believe I can generate that. But my team showed me very interesting thing. They showed me this thing. This is a traditional code generator which produces code in a deterministic way. So when AI asks for a particular endpoint or particular code, if it finds over there, it says yes, there is a code. And if it doesn't find, we just enforce it to say no, I couldn't find it. Help me with a better prompt. Instead of just going there on internet and finding some random library. So that's a way to prevent hallucinations. Determinism, the problem number 1, is still there, and you have to guide AI sometimes to generate, to produce the correct code, but hallucinations problem are largely gone by training the AI on a deterministic machine. So think of an AI as a machine, and a deterministic code generator is also a machine. So if the input of this machine only becomes this one, then you can solve a lot of problems with the AI code generation. So thank you very much.